Hello, hello, hello. This is Gresh from the I Am CEO podcast, and I have a very special guest on the show today. I have Patricia Gavin. Patricia, excited to have you on the show.
Thank you for inviting me.
Yes, super excited to have you on and talk about all the awesome things you're doing. I'm excited that we get to do this live from Intelligent Office in Alexandria, Virginia, so we can hear about all those awesome things. So I guess to kind of kick everything off, what I wanted to do is rewind the clock a little bit, hear a little bit more on how you got started and how you start doing all the awesome things you're working on.
Well, I started here in Alexandria in 2012 training at Bikram, Alexandria.
Mm-hmm.
They moved the studio after COVID to Falls Church, but they had a studio near Van Dorn Metro.
Okay.
And so I started there. A friend of mine from the military had recommended it. So I went ahead and trained there for 2 years. And then in 2014, I went to teacher training in LA. And I spent 60 days as a yoga teacher in training with Bikram Chaudhary at what was the Radisson, now the Hyatt, at the airport with 300 other people from across the globe.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I like to say it's the United Nations of yoga.
There you go.
So we practiced twice a day, and then we had classes noon to 3, and then in the evening from 6 to 9.
Okay.
9-ish, yeah.
Yeah.
So it was full, 9 weeks and 100 classes in the hot room.
Mm-hmm.
And because there were 300 of us, we had 9 lines.
Oh, wow.
So it was in a ballroom that was heated to 105 degrees.
Wow.
And 40% humidity, sometimes a little bit hotter than that. But it was a good experience for me. We had posture clinics usually in the afternoon.
Okay.
And then lectures that followed that in the evening. And the posture clinics were really designed to memorize a 90-minute dialogue.
Okay.
Well, I say monologue really because there's no one talking back.
Yeah.
People are doing the postures, and that's the reply.
Oh, yeah, because you're kind of practicing for it if you had people there.
Well, we had basically broken everybody down into groups of like 30.
Okay.
So we would break it up into groups of 30, and we had little cabanas outside near the pool, and we would go out and practice each of the postures and go through them, and through repetition, memorize the dialogue. Because teaching a class for 90 minutes and talking for 90 minutes is kind of we call it a moving meditation, but it's the method that Bikram yoga is taught.
Okay.
What we now often call the 26 and 2.
Okay.
It's 26 postures.
Uh-huh.
Basically 2 breathing exercises.
Okay.
And then 12 standing postures and 14 floor postures that are repeated twice.
Okay.
So 26 postures and repeated in twice in 90 minutes.
Oh, wow.
So it's a pretty strenuous class that works all the muscles in your body. And it's designed so that people can do it at any age. And the depth that you go in the posture really is reflected by how long you practice.
Right.
So you can, start at any time. And then as you improve your postures, you improve your repetition and frequency and precision.
Yeah.
So I would say that training in my 50s after military service was a big benefit for me, as I had an accident, so I tore my meniscus. And I would say I would be in a lot worse shape if I had I not had the yoga.
Yeah.
And so even to heal, a lot of the postures are helpful for that purpose.
Right. That makes so much sense. And sorry to obviously hear about your injury. Thank you, of course, for your service as well, too. I tore my Achilles tendon, not completely, but enough to make it not a very great injury. So I know how much like physical therapy, stretching, yoga, all those things are to the like rehabilitation process.
Yeah, I had moved to Key West during COVID to teach outdoors, and then I came back after having an accident because Alexandria has some of the best physical therapy, I will say. Solutions is one of the local people I'm seeing now. And I have another chiropractor I'm seeing.
Okay.
So both of those are very helpful. In trying to... I had actually returned to the area to fly with American, and I was having feet problems, and I didn't realize I had a torn meniscus.
Oh, wow.
So yeah, so I had the feet problems, got those diagnosed, and was in treatment for the feet, and then I realized I had a deeper problem, and the feet were just a symptom.
Oh, wow. Wow.
So yeah, it's been a challenge, but the yoga is good for healing as well as just for keeping fit.
Yeah, absolutely. And I imagine healing and probably even the emotional, mental part as far as like having that peace as well too. I imagine it helps out a lot. So I wanted to drill down a little bit more. Could you tell me a little bit more on how you serve your clients, how you work with them, and what that process looks like?
Well, it's very different for all kinds of different teachers, I would say. For me, I had traveled after getting certified as a teacher.
Okay.
Probably one of the first things you need to do is your CPR
Okay.
and first aid and AED, and then you get insurance, obviously. So I was an investor for the Yogi Insurance, and they offer insurance for yoga teachers.
Okay.
And most teachers have waivers that you sign when you come on board for a class, and so that's kind of the steps.
Okay.
When you come out of teacher training. I traveled and taught because Bikram had 1,300 studios, basically, or people who were running Bikram studios across the globe.
Right.
So I taught in Thailand and I taught in Mumbai.
Cool.
Before COVID.
Okay.
And then I wound up teaching in the Tiki Hut on Sunset Island in Key West.
Oh, wow.
After COVID, I went to Florida. So I guess that's kind of been my path is, I've done more retreats and taught as guest instructor in various places. I did teach for the Kirov Ballet here in town when they were open near Catholic University. I taught their summer program. They have a paraprofessional program that they held to help place dancers in companies. And so I taught 100 ballerinas in a gymnasium.
Oh, wow.
Which was really...
That'd be incredible.
Well, it actually was because they're athletes,
Yeah.
And they're very flexible.
Yeah.
Very strong.
Yeah.
But they also have a lot of injuries. Dancers are prone to a lot of injuries, foot, shoulder, hip.
Yeah.
So, I've had some unique experiences with teaching Bikram yoga. I recertified in Acapulco in 2018. So I flew to Mexico for that. And spent a week with Bikram, and then probably we'll do that in Thailand this year because he's back teaching in Thailand. So that's kind of my path. There's, for teachers who taught 10 years, which I'm coming up on, there's a 500-hour certification through Yoga Alliance that is reciprocal for Bikram teachers that is taught in Spain, in Malaga, Spain. So that's in April. So it's given me travel opportunities I wouldn't have otherwise had.
Yeah.
And a method of traveling I wouldn't have otherwise had in my 50s.
Yeah.
And so for that, I'm very grateful. Locally, I'm teaching for residential community platform, which is here in Alexandria and the Sur. And they're large residential communities that have an amenities fee and a gym where they're offering yoga in the gym. So those are typically people who haven't been introduced to hot yoga before. So I have people coming who are looking for maybe a stretching type class. And so they're learning the postures, and it's a great introduction, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that you being able to kind of meet people in so many different places and areas it's amazing. So do you do anything kind of virtually as well too for people?
I thought about it. I thought about putting classes online. I haven't done it yet, but yeah, it's something. I have an Instagram, Yoga National USA, that I do postings about postures and other things, maybe more Ayurvedic related to health. I just, going back into the studio after the accident, it was very painful for me. My first time back in, and I had to go really slow. But, for example, bromelain is something that helps relieve lactic acid in the body, helps break it down. It's in pineapple. So those are kind of like, that would be something I might post, I don't post that much of the postures themselves, but more about maybe how they benefit people. So I think that most people think of yoga as flexible, being flexible, but not really. It's really wherever you are is where you start, right?
Mm.
So it's to build flexibility, strength, obviously, and balance, but also concentration.
Right.
Because it takes a lot of concentration to hold a posture. So if you have someone who has a lot of anxiety also,
Yeah.
the breathing exercises help to channel that into movement.
Mm.
So it helps relieve a lot of anxiety.
Right. Yeah.
So I would recommend it for anybody who's like dealing with that in their job or in their career,
Yeah.
you know, or in their personal life. Or
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's, we're all kind of dealing with some type of stress and things like that. So I feel like by having those kind of methods to be able to lean on and to go back to, it's just going to help you to kind of, I don't know if the right word is get through those things, but to be able to kind of maybe come more peace of mind and have a little bit more awareness around what's happening.
I think what it does is it helps you shift gears.
I like that. I like that.
I think it's really the shift, because what happens when people come into a yoga room is people think of it as exercise, but in the yoga community, the difference between exercise and yoga is breath. So breath control is a big part of yoga. So you are never breathing through your mouth.
Okay.
Except when you're exhaling.
Right.
Because when you come into the yoga room, you do an exercise called pranayama breathing, which is designed to shift your breathing from your sympathetic nervous system, which is fight or flight, to rest and digest, which is your parasympathetic nervous system.
Okay.
So imagine a Bengal tiger chasing you through the jungle.
Okay.
You're
right. Right.
Inhaling through your mouth.
Right.
So the goal is to get you to inhale slowly through your nose and exhale through your mouth.
Gotcha.
Long and slow and deliberate while you're doing the posture. So they become effortless and your breath is controlled.
Okay.
Which is harder to do in 105 degrees. Because you want to pants typically, so.
It's pretty hard to do when you're getting chased by a tiger too, so that's
good. So by training in a hot room, one of the things it does is it elevates and promotes circulation in the body, because all your pores open and your skin is your largest organ.
Okay.
So it helps your body to detox.
Okay.
And so I think there's so many benefits. I mean, I could go on and on, but better sleep.
Okay.
Deeper relaxation. Detoxing. More focus, concentration, increased ability to, sit like in a meditative state, or in front of your computer, for an extended period of time. It also helps with people, we call it tech neck.
Okay.
Instead of technique, but tech neck, because people are looking at their devices. So their cervical spine is like their head weighs 10 times or 10 pounds more tipped forward than straight on their, spine.
Right.
So, I mean, the idea behind yoga is really to decompress the spine.
Okay.
To stretch the body and decompress the spine. So you can sit longer, more comfortably in a relaxed state.
Right.
So it's designed really to help originally warriors combat fear who didn't want to fight. So it's been used kind of in a more, I think people tend to think of yoga now as more bohemian, but originally it was for war.
Interesting.
People were trained in yoga to prepare them for battle.
Right.
To make them flexible if they fall off their horse, not to, fall apart. So I think that a lot of that's maybe been lost in translation. Right. And so I credit Bikram Chaudhary, his family, his daughter Laju, his son, Anurag, and his wife, Rajashri, because they were all, and they still are all involved in teaching, but now in Thailand. Right. So I really credit them. I had a veteran scholarship to attend because I had a fall at that time skiing, and I was having trouble getting my arms over my head. But the yoga kind of fixed that for me. Yeah. So I think that physical therapy it's a form of physical therapy. Right. But not in the same way as medically, right. Where everything's documented. So I think that it's one way. I saw it recently, a statistic about lean body mass and how it helps extend your life. Right. And so I think that that's one of the things it does help maintain, Yeah.
That makes sense. And being able to kind of have, all those benefits and being able to kind of help you at the end of the day be healthier, live a healthier lifestyle and be able to show up and be present, I think, as your best self with it is so powerful. Do you feel like that might be part of what I call like your secret sauce? It could be for yourself or the work that you do. Is it your kind of, I'm gonna use the word holistic awareness over like yoga and all the things that are involved with it? Do you feel like that kind
I
of sets you apart?
I think that there's kind of a buzzword mindfulness. I
Okay.
think it makes you more aware.
Okay.
They call it self-realization kind of in the yoga world. It raises your self-awareness.
Okay.
Um, because you're focusing on controlling your body and your mind and your spirit and kind of bringing them all in one place, right?
Right.
And so I think that the yoga, because people say it's not a workout, it's a work in,
Mm.
you know?
I like that.
So it's a work in because you're doing inner engineering.
Right.
Sadhguru is, I think, in McMinnville, Tennessee, and he's developed a program there and he calls it inner engineering,
Okay.
where he's teaching yoga because yoga means union, body, mind, and spirit. So it's really bringing together all those things. People think of it as maybe sometimes a religion,
Mm-hmm.
or I would say more it's a science.
Mm-hmm.
I would say less of a religion, more of a physical science,
Interesting.
kind of like physical fitness or PT, or, if you're studying kinesiology, movement in the body, dance.
Right.
I would really put it more in that category than I would a religion.
Right. That makes sense.
I mean, there are people in obviously India are Hindu and Muslim,
Mm-hmm.
but there's also Christians there. They all practice yoga.
Right. Right.
So it's not exclusive to any one group.
Yeah. That makes sense.
So it's not like you don't have to believe in the yoga. You just have to do the postures.
Yeah, that makes sense. Well, I love that you have that awareness, and then even the history. I had not known about the warriors and how they
Yeah.
incorporated that and what it led them to. I think getting more of that awareness over what exactly yoga is only going to help to first of all create awareness, but also to help people like understand like all the major benefits and how they can kind of incorporate that into the work that they do.
I think also there's patterns in people's behavior, and
Mhm.
sometimes they're repeated and they don't even know why.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that sometimes the yoga acts as an interrupter
Okay.
to those patterns, whether it be PTSD or, just a learned behavior
Right.
from your family or whatever, and how you raise. I think it acts as an interrupter. It's kind of like flipping the switches
Right.
on a circuit breaker. When you feel overpowered or overwhelmed,
Mhm.
it's kind of a reset.
Right.
So I would recommend it like to people who feel in their lives overwhelmed,
Okay.
either maybe technology or emotionally or, even physically in my case right now, because I don't have the same range of motion, I'm used to. So
Right.
for example, I will say like for myself with the torn meniscus, I have to be more deliberate about the way I move
Right.
so I don't re-injure,
Right.
So I think that there are certain postures that are outside my, what do you call, wheelhouse right now.
Right.
So I have to modify those,
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's kind of, it serves in that regard as a discipline,
Mm-hmm.
a self-discipline to make you, more aware of what you're doing right and what you could improve.
Yeah.
Whether it be like, a simple standing posture or the floor postures, the kind of the theory behind it is we raise the circulatory system, through the standing postures, the large muscle groups, we raise the blood flow in the body,
Mm-hmm.
and then we dam the blood up in the floor postures to clean the body from the inside out. So the postures all work together,
Mm-hmm.
and through repetition, they serve to help kind of clean the body from the inside out.
Interesting. Did you consider that to be what I would call like a CEO hack? And that could be like an app, a book, or even a habit that you have. But is it that ability to understand like yoga being the interrupter? Do you feel like that's part of the hack that you would kind of lean on?
Yeah, like when I feel stuck,
Yeah.
or I feel a little frustrated or overwhelmed, going to yoga always is like a big exhale.
Right.
you always feel like it's like they use the expression "let go of stuff,"
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
So it's kind of a way of cleaning house.
Right. I like that.
Yeah. I mean, if the body is a temple, right? It's
Right.
kind of like cleaning the house.
Yeah.
And I think that I think athletes, have a better understanding of their bodies,
Right.
because they know how they feel after they've worked out and the relief it provides. I think that people find that. And the thing about yoga is you don't have to be bendy, flexible, little. You can start wherever you are on the
Right.
mat and you still get the same benefits.
Right. I love that. And I don't know if that might be because I'm curious if I was going to ask you for a CEO nugget, which is a little bit more of like a word of wisdom or piece of advice. I almost wonder that you talked about yoga being like a science. I almost wonder if yoga and kind of even, I always feel like business and entrepreneurship is kind of like that journey. I almost feel like yoga is a journey as well too. As you said, you start where you are. Do you feel like you find that as like there's a lot of parallels between you growing and building and maybe people that are growing and building, certain things like a business?
I got an MBA in e-commerce, and I'm thinking back about it now, and the idea, well, was e-commerce and hospitality, but I'm thinking back about it now, and there's a lot of skills that I learned doing the MBA.
Right.
I learned how to exchange currency across, country borders.
Right.
Everything I learned, I've used as a yoga instructor, traveling and teaching. So I think that from a business standpoint, I think it's a way of problem solving. Because if you go into a meditative state and you think about something, sometimes you have to make space to process things. And I think that the body is basically space, right?
Right.
So in yoga, you're just rearranging it, the body itself, right? So you're rearranging the space inside you, right, to make room for whatever it is that you're trying to resolve outside you. So I think it's very good for that. I know Steve Jobs was a big follower of Paramahansa Yogananda, and at his funeral they gave out his book Autobiography of a Yogi to all the attendees of a funeral, like say memorial service. It was given out, and I think it was something he probably used quite a lot when he probably built Apple.
Right.
So I think the idea is that the yoga helps you live a better life.
Yeah. Yeah.
A better quality life, put it that way.
Yeah, absolutely. Especially if you see it from that perspective of, solving a problem. It's just very powerful because as you're going through the different, I guess, poses might be the right word.
Asanas is what they call it.
Okay, asanas. Being able to kind of solve whatever might be, or even if you're talking about like the ability to kind of stretch it a certain way, something like that, it's a process that it gets to kind of go there, kind of same way that you might in business.
Yeah, I know. I always tell students, like, there's a posture, separate legs, standing leg stretching, and it's a posture that people see a lot of progress in.
Right.
When they practice it, because gravity is kind of your friend in that posture. But it's basically a stretch where your feet are 4 feet apart and you're trying to get your head to the floor, right?
Right.
So maybe you can't even touch the floor to begin with. But if you lock your knees and contract your quads, eventually your hamstrings stretch and you get there.
Right.
And so it teaches patience. And it teaches, the idea that little steps lead to, big steps.
Right.
And I think that maybe that's the business lesson in it, is you have to take the little steps repeatedly to see results.
Right.
And you have to be consistent over time.
Right. Yeah, Rome wasn't built in a day, right?
Teaching has been kind of a rewarding thing because you see people at all different body types and all different levels of flexibility and strength. Usually people are either spaghetti or steel. They're either strong and not flexible, or they're the other way around.
Right.
So, people have different things to work on in the room.
Yeah.
And so it's one class where you go in and you really can't compare yourself to anybody else because your body is different, right?
Yeah.
And everything that's easy to you may be hard for someone else and vice versa.
Right.
So we always say, just pay attention to yourself in the mirror, right?
Yeah. No, that's really cool to kind of see that and see that growth, within everybody as well too. I wanted to ask you now my absolute favorite question,
Yeah.
which is the definition of what it means to be a CEO. And our goal is to have different quote unquote CEOs on this show. So, what does being a CEO mean to you, Patricia?
I think that charting a course for yourself
Mm.
and then for other people um, requires great communication. And I think that communication is, they say, 70% body language, 23% tone, and 7% words. I think that adds up to 100.
Mm-hmm. I think so.
So what I would say is, if the body is 70% of the communication process and you're ignoring that and just using your words, you aren't being a very effective communicator.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's what I would say.
Yeah.
You're missing like over half of the message
Right.
in terms of being able to control your expression
Yeah.
to others, right?
Yeah. That's powerful.
Yeah, I think it's amazing when you stop to think about it. I think that we give actors a lot of credibility, but I think that's probably one of the reasons they are given more credibility is their message is more powerful because they're able to express it not just through words, but
Right.
through action.
Right. Absolutely. And I think that especially like any type of, leadership that you had, as you said, start charting the course. It's not just in the things that you say, it's in the things that you do, the body and all those things. But I really think it hit home with me because, as we've been talking about, like how important it is to care for your body when we're trying to care for our business or care for our families or care for our pet or whatever it might be, we often will skip over that physical part and making sure that we're taking care of ourselves in that way.
Yeah, I think that, if you can like get squeezed in 3 to 4 times a week, that's a lot.
Mm-hmm.
90 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
By the time you get there and get home, it's 3 hours.
Yeah.
Typically shower and all that. So if you're putting that kind of time in 4 times a week, that's 12, that's half of a day.
Yeah.
That's a lot, right?
Yeah.
It doesn't seem like a lot, but just going 4 times a week. I attend right now a class in Tyson's Corner.
Mm-hmm.
That's where I've been going for the hot room classes.
Mm.
But then I've been teaching in rooms that aren't hot.
Okay.
And a lot of yoga is done in rooms that aren't hot in the summertime outside even.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that the heat does add an element of adversity that makes things outside. Like if you can handle things at 105 degrees, then outside that much
Piece of
easier.
cake. Yeah, there you go.
Yeah. It's like training in the desert.
Yeah.
There
you go.
So,
There you go. Awesome.
So I think that people tend to think of yoga as kind of woo-woo, It's kind of like people chanting. Well, it's not that when you're doing hatha. Hatha's physical yoga.
Yeah.
And there's other types of yoga like devotional yoga and that kind of thing. But when we think of, the typical yoga, work in, work out, you're talking about the hatha yoga.
Yeah, that makes sense. No, I truly appreciate that. And I think it gives a whole different perspective on a science that I don't think we sometimes kind of looked at. From that
I think it's more of a neuroscience, actually, because it's tied to the brain. Because when you sleep, your spinal fluid moves up and does like your brain's like a dishwasher, right?
Yeah.
And it cleans up your memory and makes space, right?
Right.
So I think that by decompressing the spine, through the yoga, I think that you get that deeper sleep, the deeper relaxation. And I think it's like a Control-Alt-Delete,
Yeah.
on the stress in your life.
Yeah. And that's powerful for anybody to be able to have. But truly appreciate that, Patricia. For people that are listening to this, what's the best way for them to get a hold of you, find out the classes?
I think that the classes right now that I'm teaching, they can really go to yoga. There's the Original Hot Yoga Association that has studios that teach the hot yoga in the hot room. Locally, just following my Instagram feed, you can find out, what's going on and where. Typically, like we just had a yoga USA Yoga is a nonprofit that promotes yoga as an Olympic sport.
Okay.
And more of a competitive, endeavor. So we just had one of the winners of the competition teaching at Tyson's a weekend ago after regional competition in New Jersey. It came down Kaiha and taught. So you can kind of follow USA Yoga and see what's going on there. Attend a competition just to see what, is involved. I think that is one way of finding out more about, what's possible.
Yeah, absolutely. And we'll have that information in the show notes as well too, so that everybody can follow up with you. But thank you so much for your time, all the awesome work you're doing, and definitely the new perspective on how we can look at something that we may have been spending time and experience with, or may not, and need to kind of get more experience around.
Yeah, I think it kind of is demystifying in a lot of ways for people that think it's something that is outside their range, maybe.
Absolutely.
Because it's for everybody.
Yeah, absolutely. We all have a body, so there we go. Awesome. Thank you, Patricia.
Thank you.